Wiggle. Gotta wiggle it. Goddamn, wiggle it, girl. Where's my remote? I started putting it in a new spot. Hello. 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 Ooh. I just opened TikTok to make a TikTok post. And of course, like, as soon as you open TikTok, it immediately starts blaring somebody's TikTok at you. And of course it was,
this is a really bad idea, but fuck it, I'm already here. Rawr.
And I'm like, seriously, girls? Seriously, we're making the same TikToks like a year later, ladies? My TikToks are more advanced than this. Disappointed. Let's get high. I should be able to go pick up all my medicines today. Oh! Oh, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Yeah. I still want to get to 1,000 TikTok followers or whatever, so that way I can start live streaming there. Because TikTok is very fucking big. Although Trump did just ask permission today from Congress to make sure that the WeWork ban goes through. So I might not need to worry about it anymore. I was like, hey, Grandma, did you hear that Trump's planning a coup? Oh, he's not going to. Why do you think that? Oh, because he wouldn't do that. Why would he say he's going to? And honestly, what a waste of time right now. From a strategic position of I'm starting the game in Trump's current shoes, total waste of my fucking time. To be chasing down WeWork when I'm trying to win a fucking election / steal an election. I got bigger shit to do. My ass would be, you know what my ass would be doing is taking photo ops next to the 3 or 4 sections of border wall that actually got built. To go back to that narrative, if I was Trump. If and only if I were Trump. My shelf will get here today. I am very excited. I've never been so excited about something so innocuous as a shelf. But boy am I. Boy am I thrilled to get it all nice and organized. Oh, hi. Who invited you here? Say hello and then move along. Say hello. And move along. I know that you can't see any of these, but look at the colors I made. They all look the same right now because it's under a pink light. No. She's like sneaking to be over here to jump on me? Like what? How is that sneaky? You have to jump on me at the end. I've labeled them so that way if I'm doing something and I have to stop in the middle or whatever, I can write down which one I was using. B1. Metal B1. Oh, this is all backwards. Beard Boy must be having a rough day at work. He usually stops by at least Discord chat by now to say hello. So, wonder what he's having to deal with. I mean, not that it's ever anything more interesting than annoying customers, but still. But still. Yeah. That's right, it is Friday. There's something on my lip. Looks like maybe just one particularly dark patch of facial hair growing in. Or it's paint. Could be paint. Last night I was mixing paints, and I was like, "Oh fuck! I gotta test like all the chemicals I have with these guys again." So I started testing different paint thinners and stuff like that to see how it mixed with the different paint thinners. And I was like, "Wait a minute! This is acrylic." And I mixed it with water, and it just like. Perfect mix. I was just like, God damn it. Oh my God, that's right. All I need is water. And I also decided to test something, which was to see if these metal balls rust. And it would appear that they do. This has a little bit of yellowing. This one has a little bit of yellowing. And this one has turned opaque. We can't even see inside this one anymore. Well, there's a lot of white stuff in here. So this was... That was paint thinner that I just spilt on myself. Very interesting that it made this opaque film on the inside of this container. It might have eaten away at the plastic is what it is. So, hey there. How are you? Haven't seen you around here in a minute. What's up, lady? Lesson learned. They rust. So, I don't even want to say these words out loud because it hurts me inside. All of the enamel paint that I put the little steel balls into is basically ruined. It's not ruined, it just has rust in it. They all now have rust in them. Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, this goes on one of my paintbrushes. I have not been treated for my ADHD in years now. So I'm just like, ha ha ha, all the time, forever. Post AP crafting? What? Oh, post-apocalyptic. Okay. I'm like, wait, how would any crafting sense tingle as a result of rust? But hey, you know, I've made my switch over. I'm switched. I'm going to do some research as to what I'm supposed to use instead of those little metal bearings. Because you want something in your bottle of paint to help mix it. So I'm not sure what to use. Maybe plastic? Maybe a little plastic ball, but that might not be heavy enough. So I'll look into it. I will look into it. These daggone crazy dogs. I got another YouTube video banned for having music in it. But they're not actually YouTube videos. They're copies of the stream that go to YouTube. Glass. And then as soon as I type it into rust-proof stainless steel balls. Okay, well now I'm finding ones that are advertised as being for this, at least, but let's see what ones I have. Okay, it would appear the ones I have are not rust-proof in their advertising. Good to know. I will have to look and see if I can. I didn't see any glass ones when I just looked up. Well, okay. Okay, let me relook at this. Glass ball bearings. So when you type that in, you don't get a lot of glass ball bearings. In fact, there's only one listing for them, and it's for like slingshot ammo. The rest are all stainless steel rust-proof balls, and one of them is made by Army Painter, which is a company that makes miniature paint. So that makes me say, oh, well then I'll just get those. It's $10 for 100 of them, and they're made by a painting company. Any other words I'd like you to look into? I'm very interested in not at the moment. What I was gonna say is I'm very interested in some of the more like I could go online and find like an Orcish translator or something and just like sit there and type in words I think of until I find something cool. So I'm looking for things I couldn't get via doing that. Like words that I just wouldn't know sound really cool. So if there's any words you can think of that are just fucking cool sounding words, shoot them over and then I'll find places to stick them. Yeah, a lot of them are. They're generally okay as long as you're looking up a single word, right? Like river, and then you can usually find, whatever you're looking for. But then, yeah, as soon as you try and do like any kind of context or anything longer than half a tweet, I just had an idea. I'm gonna make you a short list of. Yes, I did like that, and I am gonna sneak them in as an orcish general in the background that just gets named a lot, but is never really seen very often, so the players don't have a chance to fucking kill him. A lot of the campaign is going to be about like this continent was previously established by ogre. Wow. Okay. There's a lot going on here. Let me see. Yeah, so regards to ogres and trolls. Okay, so I had said as part of like the lore that's in my head, so I'm just going with it, that like ogres are monkeys to man, as ogres are to giant, right? Let's just not look at that in any kind of racist way. So like they're a simultaneously existing thing, but they're more of like the proto version. So that this continent was previously established by ogre, who then began to turn into giants, cyclops, Etten, and a few other of the large races. However, orc were their workhorse race, even though orc are smaller than them. Don't look at it too hard. They breed faster. Whatever. They require less food. I'll think of a reason. So these kingdoms that the ogres used to have changed so much that they no longer have dominion, really. They're all kind of like sparse little feudal lords, so to speak. And the orcs have now reached a point where they're prolific enough that they are becoming the dominant force in this continent. So all the little races are trying to kind of fight for their place in the new order of things. Like kobolds did not have a good relationship with ogres and giants, but they do have a good relationship with orcs. But they're more in giant territory, so they don't want to like change their flag immediately, but they would be willing to if word was given to them that like, hey, the orcs are going to come help you take over your homeland and like be your own people. So it's a lot of that kind of stuff. A lot of revolution or skirmishes or, invade the city, defend the city, that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of room for old orcish language, especially having to do with being a slave, as that was. They've been imbued by certain, basically, elementals that have favored their bloodlines. Kind of like how a sorcerer, magic is just in their blood. Hello, Olivius. Sorry I didn't say hi. When you're a sorcerer, magic is just in your blood. So if there were a prolific fire sorcerer who were a giant, he would be the first fire giant. His bloodline creates the pure blood of the fire spirit. So then you have like the whole "you're not pure enough" arguments, stuff like that. And I have fire giants living not too far away from regular giants too. So they are kind of like a splinter group. and they definitely see themselves as better than. The same would be true also for like storm giants and frost giants, but they're just not featured in this continent. We have fire giants. Another weird little snaga as an insult as well. Okay. I'm just talking about my Dungeons & Dragons campaign at the moment. We have another topic on the horizon, which is to discuss Bon Appetit not paying people of color the same as white people. However, there was a particular term in that little prompt I was given that was indigenous people of color. So I want to do some research on that phrase. From what I understand, that would mean here, that would mean Mexicans and Native Americans, right? I don't know. We'll find out. The trolls live in a jungle. And so them having Mayan culture, Aztec culture is going to fit fucking perfectly. Like as soon as I saw that, I was just like, oh, yes. So they live in a jungle. So I have all sorts of cool lore for them because I just sat through like 8 different 5-hour podcasts about the history of South America. I've got ideas. Oh, I was going to say a weird little lore thing that I have that I want to play with. This is really just going to be like an episode or 2 worth of content, right? But Etten are kind of look like ogres, except they have 2 heads. Cool. In my world, I don't know why this happened. It was black indigenous people of color, meaning black Americans specifically. They probably... Oh, okay. That makes sense. That is a weird phrase to use for that. Black indigenous people of color. So if you just said black people of color, that would also mean someone from Africa, and they're not counted in this group that we're discussing, right? We're only talking about black Americans. Even at that, it's still an interesting... I mean, it made my brain start turning. I never got to finish this damn idea. Ettins. No females. They breed like donkeys. And they require ogres. They require ogre females. So Ettins are always at war with the ogres, trying to fucking steal their women so that they can continue their bloodline. Handle that problem, players. Handle that one. I thought it would better mark, as some people consider black Americans also, including African immigrants. Right, yeah, that's... Black indigenous persons of color would indicate that a black person was born here in the United States and a descendant of African slave trade. Okay. Yeah, as soon as you said black Americans, that's kind of where my brain went. Cool. It's a really interesting term, black indigenous people of color. Maybe one of the reasons why I find it so interesting, even now that I know what it's referring to, is because that is a thing white people generally don't know how to say. Black people, but not like African black people, like ones that were born here in the United States. That's the ugly way you get through that idea to say it. The clean way is black indigenous people of color. Do you need to say people of color? Could you say black indigenous Americans? Because isn't black and people of color redundant? Again, I know this wasn't your phrasing. We're just talking. So, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and racism. I said that to Nocturnal Princess in a private chat this morning. There was the discussion I had previously when Wizards of the Coast announced that they were going to be going through the books and looking for racism or chauvinism and things like that and trying to pull it out. And I was like, how do you do that? Dungeons and Dragons is all about ethnic... I can't even remember the term right now. Essentialism. Biological essentialism. That races are inherently biologically different. I later learned that that's not at all what they meant. They meant like real world racism that's tucked into D&D, right? So like the Vistani in Curse of Strahd being based off gypsies. They want to make it not such a negative interpretation of the Romani people and the travelers, right? That's what they mean. Cool, great. Not what I want to talk about. I actually think all of that is cool. I'm happy that Wizards of the Coast is doing it. I think it's wonderful. What I am making notes about talking about... I don't know if I want to title it What We Can Learn from D&D Racism, because I don't know if I want to necessarily explore it all in context of what it has to do with racism outside of that. But what I do want to explore are things like in history, when you have two cities that have opposed interests, but they are not at war, via trade and traveling, inevitably, these two cities will start to interbreed. And then you have people whose families are from both. And they help greatly in reducing the amount of racism in City A about people from City B, right? In D&D, if this is the same thing, City A and B will be elves and goblins. They cannot breed. Can this be resolved in any way other than war? How does one culture subsume another culture without interbreeding? Now, I'm not saying can it be done without interbreeding. I'm meaning in cases where interbreeding was not done. What does it look like when one culture adopts another, or when two cultures merge together, and things like that I'm really puzzled about. And the prompt that I had read the other day, which was stop making all your cities in Dungeons and Dragons ethno-states. And I was like, well, there's an implied, and this is something that I very rarely get to talk about, but there's an implied lore to D&D. As much as the books say, build your own world, do your own thing, elves and humans have lived together long enough for there to be half-elves. Giants and humans have lived together long enough for there to be half-giants. In fact, it's usually human plus whatever is the half thing. Yet interbreeding is never discussed in other ways. And we're left with the idea that, like, this is a point in history where goblins were made by this god and humans were made by this god, and they were both put on the material plane. And their interactions have not been going on for that long. Because if they had, either one or the other would be extinct, or they would have kind of merged together. But they haven't. So we're left to assume that that big cultural mashup hasn't happened yet. Is it going to? Can it, with them being different? Calling them races in D&D seems weird now. Now I want to call them species. Are they races or are they fucking species? All of this and more. Tomorrow, Saturday. We're going to go through Dungeon Master class, then we're just going to add these musings on the end, and we're going to discuss it and think about life. Originally, Clash of Clans designer's grandpa was playing the long game. Hey there, Callie. What's up, Savage? Clash of Clans' great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa was a Swedish person who took fairy tales with goblins. Species basis was race. Race would almost imply it wouldn't matter what they look like. They could be interbred. Just like in Lord of the Rings, it's known as races of man, or of men. Right. Like, we never see half-dwarf. Can dwarves and humans breed? I don't know. And it doesn't say in the Dungeon Master's Guide. But yeah, it does seem a lot more species, especially when you say something as different as an ogre and a goblin. Right? Now we're talking about an elephant and a koala. Right? Like, yeah, they share a lot of the same anatomy, but they're just fucking totally different. You can't... You can't... Now, granted, this is Dungeons and Dragons, and magic is possible. If you want to say that you are half goblin, half ogre, we can find a way that happened. Fucking Mom and Dad found a ring of 3 wishes, and they made you happen. Chromosomes or their equivalent in this world match up. It has always been assumed that physics and science outside of the use of magic and miracles stays the same as it does in real life. So, there are dogs in D&D, and there are humans. So everything we can say about genetics from just that, there are dogs and there are humans, then extrapolated outward says, I don't know if goblins and ogres can breed. I just don't know if they can. Or let's even go weirder with it. Let's say, humans and lizard men. Can a lizard man and a woman have a baby? No. No, lizard men have eggs. Like real eggs. So, there's a lot of weird shit in that discussion to, like, figure out. This is the D&D podcast I want. There's a few weird that, like, one thing I remember I figured out with D&D was, as far as trying to make that statement true that I said earlier, like, outside of magic, physics is normal. I said, every single being in the D&D universe contains the potential for magic. This then explains any and all supernatural abilities that regular people who do not learn magic might acquire. Like Like a fighter's ability to jump fucking 15 feet in the air does not happen through sheer muscle. So we got to be talking about something else. And I answered that by just saying all beings potentially have magic. A fighter can jump 15 feet because through training he taps into the magical elements of his body and pushes himself beyond normal means or whatever. Lots of weird shit like that with D&D that is like foundational statements about the universe itself that then mean a lot more about the universe in play. I keep going up to like 6 viewers and then down to 3. I don't know if like one group from Discord is joining and leaving or what. You drew another arm. Are they both on the same body, or are they just both disembodied arms? An arm is a really good object to draw for practice of shading. I wanted to compliment your choice there because it's a simple shape. It can be misshapen a little bit, but if you get the shading right, will look okay and normal, and it has a lot of good curves. It has the outer curves that fade towards black, as well as the curves of the muscles themselves that don't go to black, but are darker than where the muscle sticks outward, right? So, good choice there. Good choice. I wish that I could come over and hang out and we could just draw for the day and practice, because then I could show you some stuff. Maybe some species are not meant to be bred, but that won't get us any further. That would imply the existence of something higher than you, granted you're high probably. Well, this is in Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Gods are real in D&D. You can go talk to one. So, but if you want to say that, then it's like, why are we discussing anything? Why do we ever discuss any rules or how things work? The answer is always God. God just wills it to be. Why can't I climb that ladder? Because God said you can't. You know, so I try to find any other answer than God's did it. Because I feel like there's actually a term for that in writing called Deus Ex Machina, which means God of the Machines, which actually has more to do with the guys in the back of the theater who would pull the levers and shit to make things come up and down on the stage. They were the gods of the machines. Because if you were on stage, suddenly something would just descend from the heavens. An angel would just fly down on a wire. Who's controlling the angel? The god of the machines in the back, right? But that in the third or fourth act of a play, something could just descend from the top of the rafters and fix the plot. Oh, hero, you shan't fail. Here's a magic sword that can never miss. And here's magic armor that's impenetrable. Ta-da! Right? But that's like the reason they call, well, I already said the reason they call it Deus Ex Machina, but like the problem with that is when you're writing a story and you don't know how to end it, or you're like, I don't know how he got in the bank vault. I wrote a mystery about a guy breaking into a bank, and I don't even know how he actually got in now that I've written the end of the book. God did it. He walked to the safe, he spun the thing, and it happened to randomly land on the right combination, opening up and allowing him entrance. This is a very unsatisfying answer to most people who want a logical resolution of plot, not just magic. So the fun, to steal the last word I see in chat, is in finding the answers that aren't that. How does this work if we don't just say God did it or magic did it? Especially in the world of D&D, where God and magic are fucking real. 100%. You know what I mean? So like the answer, it was a ghost, actually works in D&D. But it's way more interesting if it wasn't a ghost. Because if you're in D&D, you'd actually think it was a ghost. If you were a real person living in that world, you'd be like, motherfucker, I think a fucking ghost did this. Yeah. So that's why, like, what's interesting to me isn't even necessarily saying, okay, we're going to work within Tolkien's universe, which is Lord of the Rings, and we're going to ask certain questions about elves. Like, can elves and humans mate? Right? If we asked that question, the answer would be whatever Tolkien says. If they can, then yes. If he says that they can't, then no. So a more interesting question begins to be, across all myths that include elves, we always see that elves and humans can breed together to make half-elves. However, there are other mythical creatures, griffins, goblins, ghosts, that we cannot breed with. Why can we breed with elves and not goblins? Why can we breed with elves and not a sphinx? They're all mythical creatures. None of them are real. But why did the human imagination decide, okay, yes, I have 3 imaginary creatures. One of them you can fuck, though. Well, you can fuck any of them, but only one of them will have a baby. You know what I mean? So that becomes what I'm very interested in, is not only why is it this way in the rules, and how does it work within the rules, but why did we make it like this? What does that even mean? What does that say about the rest of the world? Could be that humans are descendants of elves. And you know what? I've definitely seen that, actually. The elves are the first race of man. And that all other ones are descendants. In Norse, you cannot. That's right, because elves are little folk. Right? So it's just not even physically possible. Yeah, Livius, you're getting on the right page now. I don't know if anyone is on the same page as I am right now. And yes, I am high. I'm always high. But, yeah, Knock, to reiterate, what I'm curious about is, first of all, if certain things can breed together or not breed together, why would we call them races and not species? And second, which can and can't, and why? Can a human and a dwarf have a child? Why have I never seen it? Why have I never seen a half-dwarf? They are either small or wicked. Yeah. They're more like fairy, right? Would it be wrong, or maybe tell me why I'm wrong, if I say Norse elves are just fairy? It's just a different word to mean fairy. Maybe they look no different than a regular halfling. I've always thought that halfling meant half race of something. Maybe half dwarf, half gnome, or something like that. Makes a halfling. But there are no answers to these questions. There are no answers. That's also what makes it fun, is it's almost like philosophy, except there are answers to philosophical questions. There are no answers to these. Can you fuck a dwarf and have a baby? Dwarfs aren't real, so... Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, I know what you're saying, sister. Most humanoid races can breed in my D&D world. Half trolls. Yeah, I mentioned there are half ogre, and half giants in the lore of D&D. In the, I guess I should just start saying, in Greyhawk. Greyhawk is the world in regular Dungeons and Dragons. If you open a D&D book and you see a picture of a character, that character lives in the world of Greyhawk. This will help differentiate things. Because if I say in Greyhawk, there are half ogres, but no half trolls. I've never heard of a half troll in Greyhawk. Now, in fantasy and in just your D&D game, my D&D game, yeah, we can do whatever the fuck we want. And I actually like the idea of... I like the idea that races can interbreed, but then it immediately makes me wonder, how do we have such distinct races then? If everyone can interbreed, shouldn't it just be like the genetics are just fucking wild all over the place? Like, how can we even call a group of people half-elves when no one has pure human or elf bloodlines? Because everyone can interbreed. You always have an elf or a human in your bloodline somewhere, and a dwarf, and a tiefling, because everyone can interbreed. Which is an interesting world. So much of D&D is based around racial and species strife. There must be subsets of those groups that will never go outside their own kind. Yeah, that's one of the lores for high elves. I want to say this is the lore from EverQuest, actually, was that high elves are pure blood. And that there's then wood elf and half elf, and then human. And it's like a spectrum. High elf, wood elf, half elf, human. And high elves actually at a certain point in the story in EverQuest basically like collapse the entrance to their city and become entirely xenophobic and start inbreeding because they don't want to share their elven blood anymore. Which I always thought was a cool concept. That they were just like, nope. Nope, we're pure. We're the pure ones. There are two campaigns that come up a lot in D&D, which is World War II. One race decides we're better than all the other races and goes on a warpath. Or American West. Some races have showed up on a continent where there is ancient history and they begin to expand upon it. These are like the two most common D&D games in the world. And essentially is breeding a slight xenophobia of people who are already more than one race. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, immediately now there are... No, kitty, no one invited you up here. There are purebloods and non-purebloods. And now... And this is to say none of this is wrong and could be a very interesting campaign world in and of itself, right? Where every race has purebloods of that race. But if you have any other blood in you, it ruins your heritage. So now you have like a few royal families who can prove their bloodline back like 100 generations, and everyone else is a mudblood. Where's the line for interbreeding? It's fictional. I don't think, as he said, we'll find an answer, but it's interesting to think about. By the way, I don't think there are absolute answers in philosophy as soon as we start talking beyond conceptual ideas. I believe that when we talk about philosophy, we are talking about a thing that is true or is not true. We may not be able to know the truth value of that thing, but it is or isn't true. Categorically. I mean, unless we talk about things that are entirely man-made concepts like, am I a good person? Well, I don't know. But as soon as you define what the word good is, now there's a true or false answer to that. Now, I either do fit in that category or I do not. Or I possibly, partially do, whatever. Point is, when you say, like, philosophically speaking, do words represent real things in reality, or do you need anything real in reality? Can information be considered tangible without being real? So, like, if you have like the Matrix, right? Can the Matrix work if you are convinced enough of an idea? Can you interact with it as though it is a real thing? Okay, that has a true or false value. We can't know it because we can't, like, build a machine to do it, or we can't, like, step outside of time or whatever we need. Fuck, dude, Illuvius, this is where morning talk is in all directions. So I like to think that, for depending on the question we're asking, for most philosophical discussions, or for most discussions of philosophy, we can talk about whether something is true or not. But then, yeah, when we start talking about, can a gnome and a elf have a baby? Both of these are non-real things. I mean, we can categorically agree that goblins aren't real. So if I then say, okay, you and I agree goblins are made up, do they have babies one at a time or in litters? Neither. They're not real. But that's not what I asked. Do they have babies one at a time, or do they have them in litters? And of course, there's no answer to that. But if you start looking at all, human literature in which we've ever referenced that mythological creature, that monster, that, thing, you definitely see patterns. Like I'm a big believer of dragons came about from people discovering fossils. You know what I mean? So then if you say, well, why do dragons look the way they do? Why does every culture have dragons? Why do dragons have scales? Why do they breathe fire? Why are these things true? Why did we decide that? Well, scales, okay, maybe dinosaurs. All across the world, dinosaurs. Fire? I don't know. That's a weird fucking question. Now, I know in fantasy we've extended that outward to say there's dragons of all different colors. They each breathe different things. Black dragons breathe poison gas. Blue dragons make lightning. Okay. But why do dragons make fire? Where does that come from? So that's where I start to then reapply those things back onto D&D, is if I can get an answer to that, like, why do we think dragons made fire? Then I'll insert that into my D&D world, whatever it is. Oh, because people are afraid of fire and they're afraid of lizards. So the two just go hand in hand. Okay. Then people are going to have myths about lizard men as well. That, like, they use burning arrows, they all have burning swords. Because people are afraid of lizards and they're afraid of fire, if that's true. Stuff like that. Good and bad as man-made concept. Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe only something so big can make something so terribly destructive that people of yesteryears would not be able to fully understand. Yeah, possibly. Fire represents the primary source of destructive power that we understood as prehistoric people. What destroys things? Floods, tornadoes, fire. I can make fire, but I can't make a tornado or a flood or an earthquake. Maybe you could make a flood if I know how dams work, but we didn't know how dams worked for a long time. So yeah, maybe it was just destructive force, and that's just our symbolic representation of destructive force. Anytime we have destructive force we don't understand, we just mythologize it as being fire. Eluvius, as far as that, the words good and bad are man-made. But what do those words point at in reality? When I say something is good, you and I can agree on a direction. We can't necessarily agree on, like, is this good? But you and I can agree that there are good things. So then if I say good is to be generous, and if you would agree, if I can get you to agree to that, which I'm not trying to because it's not true, but if you would then go, yes, I agree, to be good is to be generous, then am I good? Are you generous? Yes, then yes. Am I good? Are you generous? No, then no. Because we made good equal generous. So there's stuff like that in philosophy that, like, if you define your terms, suddenly you get a lot more power. Okay, cool. I'm looking over at it right now. Oh, awesome. This is a Norse goblin, or Vat as they're known in Swedish culture. Oh, it's just a little beard with shoes. Oh, I like the trolls. They're cool. Hold on, I want to show this on the screen here. They remind me of something. A children's story I had when I was little. God damn it. Can I stop opening that tab? Look at these guys. Those are trolls. Trolls always have that long beak-like face. Big noses. Long beak faces. See, again, why do trolls look like trolls? It's a question of what society agreed upon. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to start going down that road, that's how we get to trans men are men, trans women are women. Because gender is just something we agreed upon. What is manly and what is womanly is not the same as what is it to have a penis or a vagina. Right? So to be manly is all these other traits that we agree upon. So is that person a man? Do they have those traits? Yep. Fire is a symbol for both civilization and the end of it. So it's a double-edged sword, and if you take care of it, it will warm, protect. Yeah. It will burn you. It's a little Santa rather than a floating beard. John Bauer is the artist, rather famous. Heard from possibly not the most reliable source that there were some authors that were using stereotypical Jewish facial features to draw trolls. Interesting. Yes, what is... Is the Norse creation myth similar to Ragnar? No, that's the end myth. I'm trying to think of the way to put this without sounding like a dumbass, but here's what I'm trying to say that is the dumb way to sound it. Is the Norse myths, are they the same as the Viking stuff that I know of? Odin's son, Thor and Loki being Marvel Avengers, all that shit. But, like, obviously not Marvel, but read about Mac. Shape-shifting water spirits. Cool. For a while I was advertising myself as a wizard, in real life, based sheerly on my knowledge of things supernatural as they have to do with fiction. Norse creation myth. Okay, yeah, Odin Vilve. Okay, yeah, this is that. To be good is to be generous. I recently had the thought that to be kind is to be brave. For example, protecting someone when you could get hurt by doing so. Callie, you will always be wrong if you say something like that. If you're trying to say that to be good or kind or right or just or something, is to be something else, there will always be cases where it's wrong. For example, what if a person doesn't want you to defend them? You believe that you should. They are asking you not to. Are you being kind? What if they've asked you not to in the past and they don't know what's coming? So you're uncertain whether you should protect them or not. Are you being kind? Callie's always writing poems. Check what you wrote about Nacken. Male Swedish fae creature plays beautiful tunes to lure all kind of people to drown them in the streams and rivers of Sweden. Many past artists in Sweden were said to have won a bet with Nack to learn to play as good as them. Nacken is as much a Norse fae as a troll. Interesting. Are they people-sized? Like, is his little violin regular size? Skogsra. Fae, whom in most ways look like a beautiful woman, but carefully, and she will have a foxtail. Also, her back is just a black hole and does not exist. She said to lure men away from in the forest, to either get them lost forever in a fae forest, or to seduce them and kill them. Some say that if a man makes love to a Skogsra and live, they will never get lost again. Well, good to know I'm never going to get lost again. But if they don't survive, some say that the child becomes a Nack. Spooky. That reminds me of, there's a Japanese spirit that is like the opposite. She looks normal from behind, but if you turn her around, she like has no face or something like that. And she tries to get men to follow her. See, again, like there's something that occurs a lot. The nymph, the fae creature that tries to lure you away through your sexuality and then kill you for being too horny. I'm pretty sure almost every culture has one of these creatures. Like, I know a lot of these things are were done as protections. I'm not going to say they do protect, but were done as protections against things like, you know, losing your mate, or you know, being a bad member of your little tribe or community or something like that. Always. Callie, why is the word kind not the word brave? Because they're different. One just simply is not the other. There may be Venn diagram area in which they are both good qualities, to be kind and to be brave, but in very few ways will they be the same thing. To be kind is a potpourri of all sorts of features. And so is bravery. Bravery is not just one feature, you know. They are roughly human-sized. That's good. So if I steal one of their violins, I can play it. All right, I'm going to grab a Red Bull. I think someone who is not brave can be kind. Okay, princess. Yeah, I'm about to go into just talk mode. So, ADD will possibly have difficulties. I'm going to grab a Red Bull. I'm going to come back, and we're going to find out about Bon Appetit not paying BIPoC. Okay, I'll be right back. What? You yell at me, I yell at you. Dumbass cat. All right, check this page for nudity. Okay. No nudity. Pause that music. All right, guys. So, started giving this little warning to explain things. I am about to record myself while we do this segment so that this can go on YouTube. That means that I will not be as responsive about answering questions, especially if they are not very specifically on topic. If you have any questions or anything to add while I'm talking, feel free. I do love to add extra things and respond to stuff as we're going. So we are going to be discussing and learning about Bon Appetit. Alexa,
here's your reminder.
Stop.
Take your meds.
Black, Indigenous people of color. Okay. Let's do it. Hello. Thank you for joining me today on Count Howl. We are going to talk about Bon Appetit not paying Black, Indigenous people of color the same as they are paying other people. Let's check it out, because I don't really know that much about this issue, but I figured it would be fun to read about it with you. Whoosh! Whoa. Inception. Okay. Bon Appetit's Adam Rappaport's brown face picture sparks a deeper conversation about the payment of BIPoC chefs. Do we get to see the brown face picture? Bon Appetit has been a source of comfort for many YouTube lovers, taking to the test kitchen and watching as our favorite chefs try to create masterpieces. But the BA test kitchen hasn't been that great with diversity, and the story evolving shows that the on-screen issue is worse than we could have imagined. When an image surfaced of Bon Appetit's editor-in-chief Adam Rappaport doing brownface, Sola El Whaley, one of the most talented chefs on Bon Appetit. I don't watch the show, so opened up about her lack of payment for the web content and called for Rappaport's resignation. Sola El Whaley, one of the most creative chefs at Bon Appetit, on the culture of the magazine. Currently, only white editors are paid for their video appearances. Yikes. Let's check this out. I am angry and disgusted by the photo of Rappaport and Brownface. I have asked for his resignation. This is just a symptom of the systematic racism that runs rampant within the Condé Nast as a whole. I've been at Bon Appetit for 10 months. I'm 35 years old, and I have over 15 years of professional experience. I was hired as an assistant editor at $50,000 to assist mostly white editors with significantly less experience than me. That happens sometimes, but I've been pushed in front of video as a display of diversity. Yikes. In reality, currently only white editors are paid for their video appearances. None of the people of color have been compensated. Jeez, that is like so blatant that you would think this is going to be an oxymoron. You would think a smart racist wouldn't do that because it's so easy to call them out on it. They're not a smart racist because there are no smart racists. I demand the not only resignation of Rappaport, but also to see Black, Indigenous people of color given fair titles, fair salaries, and compensation for video appearances. That is pretty fair. What's interesting to me about it is that El Whaley points out that she makes $50,000 as an assistant editor, and that's it, making no money to be in web videos that so many flock to, while her white coworkers do get paid. Sola's reveal has prompted multiple chefs to open up about the fact that certain chefs are not paid while other chefs, who are white, are paid for their on-camera work. Others coming out now. So far, Christina, TBF, she tweeted earlier. Priya, Sarah, and Molly. Do with their different statements what you will. Okay. This is that same one we already saw. I haven't tweeted since before Trump was elected, but like so many at Bon Appetit who can't be silent right now, I'm disgusted and humiliated by my editor-in-chief's actions. It is a disgrace to my colleagues of color who have been doing the real, all too often invisible labor. Okay. We gotta look. We gotta look at it. Rappaport brownface. Oh, fuck, dude. I remember this. So, all right, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, right? Don't do this. Just don't fucking do this. Just don't. Just don't. I'm actually going to say, here's what I'm going to say, that this, to me, I am not going to say that it is not racist, because I don't think my detector for that is as fine-tuned as some other people. But I will say, this is extremely classist, because what they are depicting is poor white people and the culture that they engage in. And I'm not sure if he's got tanner or something on his face here, or if this is just the color of the picture. Even if he has no tanner, and this is just the color of the lighting, and the costume was this outfit, totally not fucking cool. You are outright blatantly making fun of the lower class. Then on top of that, if this is tanner or some shit, dude, that's fucking blackface. Like, come on, man. Come on, buddy. All right. As a BA contributor, I can't stay silent on this. This is fucked up, plain and simple. It erases the work Black, Indigenous people of color on staff have long been doing behind the scenes. Plan to do everything in my power to hold the EIC and systems that hold up actions like this accountable. Horrified by the photo of our editor-in-chief with the brown face, I stand with the Black, Indigenous people of color editors at BA, Bon Appetit, who have been working patiently and tirelessly, even though it is not in their job descriptions, and we cannot lean on them to educate us, to make the brand a more inclusive place. Please let it be known that I stand with my family at Bon Appetit Mag and do not support the behavior of our editor-in-chief. I will fight to foster equality and justice. Yeah. All right. And then at a certain point, it just stops being, you know, interesting and starts just being like, if you don't come out and say something, then you're an asshole. So that's, I feel like we just start getting into copy of a copy at that point. Let's see this one. I'm angry. Oh no, that's the same one. There we go. As the former food director of Bon Appetit, I didn't do enough to make sure we covered Black cuisine and Black chefs in particular, and BIPoC recipes in general. I accepted the brand's definition of what the mainstream food trends were. I spoke up sometimes. I should have done more. As a female department head, I focus more on improving our coverage of women and trying to counter the bro appetit vibes internally. But being a feminist doesn't mean you can't be anti-racist. I wish I had a better understanding of that before now. I know that saying this invites criticism, and the best thing I can do is try to hear it fully. I'm grateful to those of my colleagues at BA who've pushed through these issues in the light, publicly, privately, behind the scenes. Okay. I hope that I am being clear-cut enough about that. The way this dude, that costume is not cool. And I'm not trying to say it's not racist. What I'm trying to say is that it's racist. And at best, if you don't want to consider it that, it's classist as fuck. So, here's the thing though. Two things. They discuss shoving Black people in front of the camera to act as basically symbols of inclusivity. Then this woman discusses how she didn't do enough to make sure we covered Black cuisine and Black chefs. In a perfect world, you wouldn't need to, because the color of the chefs would be irrelevant. We don't live in a perfect world, sadly. I'm interested in the concept of what could have been done to better represent BIPoC's food or cooking interests specifically, especially like in this time, in this era. You know, what are dishes that would be appealing to that demographic that were not covered, basically, or things they could have done instead. There's another thing that kind of pops up in here, which is I accepted the brand's definition of what the mainstream food trends were. This is something I've been thinking about lately, where it's basically default. What you believe is default and what you believe is the general temperature of the room. For example, I am not aware, this conversation just started when I was discussing with someone that I am not as aware of online sexism against women in video games because I'm a dude. I jump on voice chat and no one says anything weird about it. So I don't even think about the fact that this is happening because I don't really have a lot of women hanging out with me playing video games. So I don't see it happen. So if you asked me how prevalent is sexism against women in video games, my response would have been not very, because I don't see it. This is kind of this is how default gets constructed. What I believe is default. There's also another take on this that comes from someone in our Discord group. I have a thread that's like totally coming undone here. Someone in our Discord group basically got a little Christian at one point. And I tried to show them, hey, not everyone's Christian. And they thought that I was trying to insult their religion. No, it's just that not everyone follows it. They could not imagine a world in which you could be anything other than Christian or anti-Christian. Those are the two states you can be. Because that is the room temperature of where they're at. They are only around that. So that is all they perceive. So it's very interesting when they say, I accepted the brand's definition of what the mainstream food trends were, as if you're, not around people of other ethnicities, you might not be aware at all of what's popular amongst them, because you're just not, you just don't, like, no part of your life touches on that, really. Let's go back to the main article here. Wiley even pointed out that she had more experience than some of the chefs she was assisting. Oh, you know what I wanted to talk about real quick? Was this. As a female department head, I focus more on improving our coverage of women and trying to counter the bro appetit vibes. When I worked for a dog rescue, okay, I did dog rescue for 8 years. Should I have become a vegetarian? Yeah. Should I no longer buy clothing from H&M because it was, constructed by child labor? Yeah. There is no ethical consumption in late-stage capitalism. There's no way to be right in late-stage capitalism, because there's always an issue you're missing. Always. And tomorrow this person is going to have to apologize for not paying more attention to the fact that their tools were made by children in another country. The fact that this person picked feminism and wanted to focus on that, I don't see as wrong. There will be people there who are focusing on issues for POC. There will be people who are focused on feminism. It's almost like a congress of different interests. Well, maybe not a congress, but like a senate of different, interests, all together kind of arguing. It would be very unreasonable for me to have to argue for everyone else's position all of the time. And if I don't, I've done something wrong. And I'm not anti-racist. If I'm not fighting for the treatment of North Koreans also, like, what the fuck? Where does this end? So, I don't know. I feel like this person might be being a little bit overly apologetic about things. Sola is the one being asked how to do something. Or she'll just do a task because she knows how to do it better. Wonder why? Could that be because she has 15 years of experience and yet isn't paid to do the work that her white coworkers aren't qualified to do? Very, this article is a little flavored or sensationalized. It even then drove the conversation to Bon Appetit's lack of black cuisine or black chefs on the platform. Hawa Hassan has featured for 2 videos for Somali cuisine and has talked about not being part of the Bon Appetit platform, thus went as far as to post in stories about how she refuses to work with them again. Somali cuisine. But then now I have to do Argentinian, I have to do Swedish, I have to do Nordic, I have to do Chinese, I have to do Korean, I have to do... Like, fuck, dude. We have to feature everyone. If anyone's going to complain that they weren't featured enough, now we have to feature everyone equally all the time. Like, I'm not saying the Bon Appetit guys are doing something right. What I'm now going to say is that it would be very reasonable for these other people to break off and start something focused on their interests. It doesn't surprise me that a general show about cooking doesn't focus on a given country's cuisine enough. No country's cuisine is going to be covered enough. Now, if they covered every other nation's cuisine 5 times and Somali only showed up twice, okay, that could be pretty fucked up, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the details on that, you know, but I don't think that people should apologize just for not featuring something enough. We should be we should be accountable for the things that we platform. I don't know if we should be accountable for the things that we're not avoiding it. We just didn't platform it. That's weird. Alex Lau, who used to work for BA, tweeted a thread of his constant push against the white leadership of BA and how it continually resulted in nothing despite promises from leadership there. Yes, I left BA for multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons was that the white leadership refused to make changes that my BIPoC co-workers and I constantly pushed for. That sucks. What they wanted. Right now, it isn't about feeling guilty for your go-to comfort being the best, being the BA test kitchen. What we should all want the chefs we know and love to be paid for their work, and we should want the BA test kitchen to do better. I do want capitalism to end. You're right. Part of that comes from the requested resignation of Adam Rappaport. Yes, he should resign. And figuring out from there how to change the BA test kitchen and the chefs they hire for the better. Yes, I agree. Hire a more diverse cast of chefs. Why not? It's one thing to show diversity on the screen, which is what happened when them throwing Sola on camera, but there shouldn't be a bunch of white chefs making all different things while the BIPoC chefs are often set on making food specific to their cultures. Right, that weird form of racism where you say white people can do any culture thing, right? Like what is white people's food? Hamburgers, Chinese food, Danishes, right? Like we just take other cultures, we're just like, that's ours now. I've said white people culture is cultural appropriation and imperialism. So if you bring on a person of color and put them in a fucking, silly hat from their nation and make them cook something from their national dish, and then the next dude on there is some white guy cooking Colombian food, that is a little weird. Either allow the more ethnic chefs to diversify what they make, or start forcing your white chefs to do less interesting food? I don't know, because then I guess you have to bring on someone who is a minority but isn't the minority of the dish that we're talking about, so that way they're still doing something varied and they're not pigeonholed. That's tough. But the showing diversity on screen and then not paying people equally is just shit. I can't tell you about this individual person, whether there's a reason why they aren't paying her as much, but if systematically across the platform they're not paying people of color in general, especially indigenous black people of color, that's fucked up. That's really fucked up. Another point that I wanted to address was the term Black Indigenous people of color, which I learned today or Wednesday. Black Indigenous people of color are Indigenous Americans born in America and black. Black people in general are people of color, but people of color can be a lot of things. Mexican, black, sometimes Middle Eastern, Hindi, all sorts of things. I said Hindi, Indian. Whereas black people of color are black. Now, I don't know if you need to say people of color in that. I did ask chat and nobody responded to me there. If I say black, do I now also need to say person of color? Like, isn't that assumed? But if I say person of color, then I might need to say black. That's weird. Indigenous, though, meaning black people who were born in America. American families. They are not immigrants. They are Americans. And I know my friend specifically said, BIPoC, said ancestors of slavery or ancestors of the slave trade, which I guess would be an individual thing. Like what the amount of black people who live in America who aren't ancestors of the slave trade, I'm sure is not that many, but sure there are some. I think it's very interesting that this entire article focuses so much of a laser point on black indigenous people of color. For example, I wonder if there are other non-whites on the show who and what their treatment is like, what their pay scaling looks like, what their demands for their position are, and how it compares to their white counterparts, as well as the black indigenous counterparts. Alexa, stop. My shelf is here. So yeah, that's very interesting. A few extra questions in there, and I don't know if I'm going to find the answers. But hey, if you know anything, let me know. Put it in a YouTube comment or send me an email. I'm counthowell@gmail.com. Seems pretty shitty, but yeah. Did he ever step down? Let's see, because this was June 8th, so yes, on like instantly he did. Hours later. Yeah.
America is not new to scandals.
Monday evening. When was this article? The 9th. The 8th was when the other article was released. This one was released on the 9th. So yeah, apparently hours later, he was like, I'm out. But here's the thing, okay? Here's what sucks ass really hard. Totally different discussion, but it's not. What about all the money he made? What about all the money he made off the backs of those people we were talking about? Does he not pay that back? Does he just resign and get to keep his nice little bank account off of the work that he capitalized on and profited from? Like, what the actual fuck? Now, maybe they, the individual employees could get him in some sort of civil suit. That would make sense if they took him to court and said, you owe me based on, the difference between my pay and someone of an equal amount plus fees. Sometimes these people have been asked to donate or give back to the employees that they hurt. And that would be reasonable. I obviously would want money because I am poor. But if I had a $50,000 a year job and I'd held it for several years and I've been in the industry for 15 years and I know I can get another job, and the difference is what? $5,000-$10,000 a year between me and the other coworker that I just sued for. So maybe I got $20,000-$30,000. If you donate that to a charity that fights for these causes, you get almost 7 times that value back. So go ahead and donate it. I have a job. I have money. Donate that. Let's help more people not be in the scenario that I'm in. But that's if I had money. Because I don't. I'd be like, fuck you, pay me. Put that shit in my hand. I believe that's all we have to say on this issue for now. So, join me in the future, the next episode. Get ready for the next episode. Hold up. Sorry. Tonight we are doing, the prompt was 90 Day Fiancé, the implications of buying love. I have added to that, and now it is paying for sex, paying for love, paying for porn. We're going to talk about the concept of trading money for sexual desire. That'll be tonight. Tomorrow, Dungeon Masterclass narrative. That will be the discussion for that. We're also going to have the side discussion that I've been wanting to have that is about D&D and racism. I'm going to add that to the end of our narrative discussion. Then tomorrow night, we're going to be going over a list of BDSM best practices. Just general things you should know before your newbie starter pack, your BDSM newbie starter pack. Next week, we've got coping mechanisms. We've got preventing PTSD. We've got stuff about aliens. In our sex ed class next week, we have self-exploration, living BDSM 24/7, flirting in BDSM community, and finally, my favorite talk we're coming up to next Saturday, sluts. Sluts. You love them. I love them. They're sluts. So tune in. live.howls.cc on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday at 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. If you can't, youtube.howls.cc has all the videos as soon as I upload them, which I'm pretty freaking slow at doing, but I'm getting better. Check out my shop too, shop.mrbones.zone. That's still going. And thank you very much. Like, subscribe. I need more subscribers. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thanks for watching the video. Thank you guys very much for sitting with me. This is, the Discord. I didn't advertise that. There's a thread here coming undone. How do I stop this? I have an idea. Where's my glue? No, seriously, where's my glue? There it is. I will put 1 dot of super glue. Yes. Let's see. Seems like we're all right. You know, I've never actually had anything melt from putting super glue on it. I know there are things that can, but I've never had it happen. The only thing I've ever had melt was my buddy has a 3D printer that uses plastic, basically. It just heats plastic till it's melted and puts melted plastic in a place, right? Not like my 3D printer that does resin. I used acetone. I was using acetone as paint thinner. And I put the paint on it and it just started fucking turning into grit, just gritty, dissolved mess. I was like, oh no. Apparently acetone is what you use to do that. And in fact, people suggest using a little bit of acetone to brush larger 3D prints that you make with plastic to make them softer. Last night, I printed 3 hanging airbrush holders to clip onto the bottom of my desk. So that way my little airbrushes can sit there all happy. I found an extra airbrush hose that I guess I had picked up from Goodwill at some point. So I was really happy about that because now I have all 3 airbrushes hooked up and ready to run. Very exciting stuff. I'd use a little bit more of an acetone if I'm filling in my own nails to help blend the line of demarcation between the product already on my nails and the product I just put on my nails. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. When I started doing my ex's nails, I was like, hey, I've got acetone. She's like, we have to go get nail polish remover. I'm like, nope. To blend an artificial tip down if I'm doing that instead of sculpting. Okay, yeah. Makes sense. Just kind of becomes like wet sanding at that point, except it's wet with acetone. So, what are your Friday evening plans, milady? What are you doing this weekend, Callie? Right, yeah, you just, like, you put it on and then rub it off. And by rubbing it off, it takes with it a layer or two. Your cousin is coming over. What kind of cousin? Boy, girl, older, younger, fun, boring? Tell me about this cousin. Ooh, check this out. The last shirt came. The last shirt. And I'm real excited about this one. So I have Use Me, I have Legs Up, which is that one, and I have this one, all for Mr. Chance next time he comes over. Mr. Beard. I couldn't not get him some shirts, you know what I mean? It's like, he's already paid for them. God damn it. Go back to being folded how you were, please. So, I'm excited. excited for him to get those. I'm excited to hear what happens when he wears one around the house, around his family. And I have the feeling that his sister is really going to like them. Because his sister, I've mentioned before, even though she and I have never met, is the one who at a recent convention ran the Anime Girls with Thick Thighs Appreciation Club. And I found this and wanted to go to it on my own without even knowing it had anything to do with Beard or his family. And then yeah, found out. Oh. Because I had mentioned, he was like, dude, my sister did that. That was my sister's. I go, oh, no shit. So, I think his sister will like them, and I'm going to tell him, if she does, to send her to the site, and I will give her one of whatever one she wants. There we go. A hentai shirt from Faye's Drawing? What? What the fuck? Why? Why on earth would that be fucking blocked? That's not even blocked on Instagram. Alexa, delete my notifications.
Delete all your notifications, right?
Yes.
Okay, deleted your notifications.
Alexa, what's the humidity today?
Currently, the humidity is 19%.
Beard Boy, I was just showing off another present for you. I finally got the last shirt that I got for you. I knew he must be having a hectic work day. This weekend I'm making a new one of these. Why can you guys not just be really good at Photoshop so I can have you guys help me do these things? You don't need to. I get tired of doing just anything, everything. Picture of this arm. My eyes already think it's ugly. It probably is, Callie. That's the trick, isn't it? The first few are terrible. You don't know what you're doing. It's the 100th one that looks good. I want you to draw 100 arms, Callie. You should probably do some spheres for practice as well, so that way you can get good at rounded objects. Yep. There are things that that I thought were no-brainers, that I'm just like, how is there a trick to opening a can? You know, and like just random ass shit that by the 100th or 200th time, you actually have figured out weird, effective ways of doing stuff. Oh, I got that game last night that I've been trying to get off Pirate Bay. And so far, I dig it. It's a colony management kind of thing. Kind of like, you know, I like those kind of games. That popped into my head because when I opened the game, it was a lot to take in. So I just started fucking with things and slowly started to figure it out. There may be multiple ways in getting a final product, and you will find a way you're able to get there. That's absolutely true. And it's kind of like branching paths, right? But a lot of the endings kind of bend together at the end. And yeah, like, oh man, okay. Callie, are you there? Okay, so that guy that I watched yesterday, Miniac, the guy who paints the minis, he showed us wet blending. Let's find the video. Not the wet blending video, just the blending video.
Area right here. It's totally violet, and also flat black for the shadows, and also Arctic blue for the highlights. Now the reason why I'm using Arctic blue and not something like an off-white yellow is because the yellow in the off-white would counteract the purple because they're on opposite sides of the color wheel, and it would desaturate the purple. The blue does not desaturate the purple.
Is this when they shows the different methods?
Some color what to do gonna see up. As highlights are going to our color.
No, this is not the right video.
Our discussion this week focuses on building up our base coat with brighter and more vibrant colors. With your miniature, we're able to blend in the base coat, as blending it can be quite difficult. All we want to do is cover up the wash stain line. We don't want to cover all of the shade, obviously. We want to maintain that nice definition of the shade provided. If you mess up and paint over some wash, you...
Man, okay, I can't find it. So, the video I'm thinking about, he shows wet blending, which we looked at. He then also shows how you can put a color, then take your color on the palette and mix in the tiniest bit of white. Now, add that to the thing, but only at the top section. Now, add a little bit more white. Now do it again. Now add a little bit more white. Now do it again. And you end up with this weird tiered version of shading that looks kind of like more like a video game shades. Or a comic book or something. Even in doing something like shading, the more you do it, the more you'll begin to learn different techniques. And while both of wet blending or the shading in gradients, you're going to get to a finished product that looks good and is blended and is shaded, even though you've done it in two wildly different ways. And the end product might look different as a result, but both of them will be beautiful. Doing it again the other way would yield a different, beautiful thing if you did it well. Which is an interesting concept. But yeah, very much like she was saying, multiple ways in getting a final product. $50-piece mini funnels. Oh man, that would have been useful. Fuck you. Does that just let me know my Amazon orders here? Ooh. Yeah, my tramadol is ready at the pharmacy. I now have 4 different wish lists on Amazon. Interesting. An AC-powered paint shaker. I need it. Just had an idea on how to build a paint shaker. Found the way I did my shading by accident. Yeah, you keep doing it and you'll perfect it, and you'll find other ways, and you know, you'll try out something different and weird and it won't work, and you'll be like, well, that was a waste. And then like 3 projects later, you'll be like, wait, if I do that one thing, yeah, it came out wrong for that project, but for this project, that style is perfect. You know, it just takes doing it over and over and over so many fucking times. Way more than you think. However many times you're thinking of doing it, more. I need to get off Amazon before I end up buying some bullshit. To buy, select a size. But how much would I have to pay in shipping? $2.53. So for $5, I'd get a thing of glass balls. How big is the opening? Millimeters. One centimeter. So any of these would work, all the way up to the 8, huh? Found that I have a lot of trouble with step-by-step activities. Even when drawing, I keep forgetting that chains interlock. Then you know what you should practice. One of my favorite sayings, Callie, I imbue you with this magical spell. You ready? I like to say that teaching someone or saying something that can change the way you think is like magic, right? Here we go. Here's my spell. I'm going to cast on you. Ready? That which you need the most is hidden in the place you least wish to find it. Meaning, whatever it is you're avoiding, whatever it is you're like, man, I don't want to fucking do that thing. The thing you need is there. So if you're bad at chains, you need to do pages of chains. Fill an entire piece of paper with chainmail. Then you won't be bad at chains anymore. Hey, someone in the Discord. Hey there. Hey there. Let's do a debump. Let's do a debump. Let's throw one in there. What shall we do with the last of our time? We could play Fall Boys. Or we could play Furry. Our new chatter He's impressed by our speed. Okay. Let's try and play this game that I got last night that I'm trying to figure out. Shall we? Song of Six. Oh, motherfuck. This is an old as dirt version. I need the new shit. Come on, guys. Hook it up. Am I gonna have to fucking pay these people for this game? Cause I won't. Yup. Well then, fuck you. How about that? Looks like we're playing something else. Play some Fury. Look at Steam sales. Panzer Dragoon remake. Fuck that. Among Us, still #1, huh? It's only $5. Is it basically just Town of Salem? I think it's just Town of Salem. You want some chains? Google chainmail. It says it's a social manipulation game or whatever, so I think it's the name, like dynamic at least. All right, we're going to do a round or two. We're going to go a round or two with the Robot Mistress. I don't want to see that arm. I want to see the 50th and the 100th arm you draw. I want to see the first, 50th, and 100th. Because I can guarantee you anything you're drawing right now is not good. Learned a new technique and you think the second time you use it, it's like, I'm gonna share this with everyone. Ah, kiddo. Fucking bitch. God damn it, she can turn that way further than I keep thinking she can. I need to start dodging. Got it. Don't even touch me. You're not allowed. I blocked so hard I fucking lost a frame of game time. No hits so far. Perfect. I'm like obsessed with not letting her hit me now. No, she got me. Bitch.